This is the Dr. Berg Show. Live from the nation's capital, it's time to get healthy, lose weight, and feel great. Call now to speak with Dr. Berg at 866-561-4292. And now, Dr. Eric Berg.
Hi guys, I'm back, and we are going to do some Q&A today. We have Karen over here that's going to help us answer some questions because of the massive amount of questions on social media. Hi, Karen.
Hi.
And so just make sure your questions are questions that are simple for me to ask and that are easy for me to answer and actually simple for me to grasp the concept. Some of these questions are so complex. So I'm just going to dive right in here. The first question is from, her name is Bushra from Michigan. Go ahead, you're on the air. You had a question about intermittent fasting and keto.
Yes. Hi, Dr. Berg.
Hi.
I just got into your videos and I changed my diet. And within a day, I felt a big difference in my energy. My energy has really gone up. And I'm trying to do keto and intermittent fasting. I'm doing either 1 to 2 meals a day. The question I have is that I have the adrenal body type, which I would like to lose some of the belly fat. But I also have fibroids, which are very painful. And I know that I'm supposed to eat cruciferous for fibroids, but I just cannot digest them. They really bloat me.
Got it. Well,
and I don't know what to do.
Well, it sounds like you're doing a great job so far. So let's just kind of answer that question. So you're doing something that's finally getting you energy, and it's successful, and that's awesome. And that's going to eventually help you with a lot of things because the high sugar, the high insulin does increase the growth of fibroids. So if you can't do the cruciferous vegetables because it bloats you, you can do fermented vegetables. But here's the thing, I would do sea kelp. Iodine in the sea kelp is anti-estrogenic. It's really good for fibrocystic breast. It's good for endometriosis. It's great for tumors in general, and fibroids, which is a tumor. So go ahead and use that. Get a high quality sea kelp and see if it can help you, all right? But keep everything else the same. Good question. Okay, Brooke, you're from Tennessee. You had a question about fasting and menstruation. Go ahead.
Yes, hello, Dr. Berg. Hope
Hi.
you're doing well.
Yeah.
I have been doing keto and intermittent fasting for a few months now, and the past couple of months, I have had trouble not having my period. I didn't have it on time last month, and then I ended up increasing like starchy vegetables and fruit, and it came back later. But this month, I was supposed to have it on the 1st, and I haven't had it at all. And I'm just wondering, should I not be doing fasting, or should I increase those starchy vegetables and stuff to get my period back? Or what? What am I doing?
So the thing that I want to really kind of understand is that you were doing fine, and then you started intermittent fasting keto, and then you lost your period. Is that what happened?
Yeah, I don't know if it's because I lost too much weight or what. Like I'm 17 and I'm at 127.
Okay.
So I don't want to lose any more weight.
Okay. So here's the thing that I would do in this situation when you have any side effects at all, whether it's hair loss, fatigue, a keto rash, infertility, a loss of a period, all that means is you need to go up with your nutrients. Probably going to need more B vitamins, probably going to need more minerals, and also some of the essential fatty acids. So I think that what you need to focus on is enhancing your diet with more nutrients. Because so many women actually do this, and they actually start, the cycle becomes less intense and things like that, and so it's better. So in this situation, all you need to do is just kind of add more of the nutrients that you might be missing. I would do trace minerals, I would do fat-soluble vitamins, I would do the B vitamins especially. And try that. I think that will actually help you more than anything else, because you're basically just getting your hormones back in alignment, and you're taking this dominant hormone and you're dropping it. Okay? Try that and let us know how that works. All right. Carol, you're from Dallas, Texas. You had a question about liquids during fasting. Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Berg, for all that you do. The information you provide is so valuable, and I so much appreciate it because it has helped me tremendously. I have a question. I started a keto diet February of this year, lost about 8 pounds. Weight is currently 147. And I started intermittent fasting in June of this year. I started with 2 meals, no snacking, down to 1 meal and a half, I guess. And haven't lost anything really since June. I do a raw kale vegetable shake in the morning around 6 a.m. with half a teaspoon of MCT oil, collagen powder, and colostrum. And then I have my first meal around 11:30 a.m. And it's a huge salad with the fish, no more than 6 ounces, a couple of eggs, cheese, even I ferment my own vegetables. And then I have like 2 ounces of kefir that I make at home. Very nutritional. And then I have a side of raw vegetables that I mix in my side mixer. And then at 5:30 p.m., I have just a handful of nuts. And, of course, I soak them and dehydrate them. Walnuts and pecans before I go. Even I ferment my own vegetables. And then I have like 2 ounces of kefir that I make at home.
Well, it sounds like you're doing great. And then you had.
And Dr. Berg, I didn't finish. It was a lot of feedback, and I want to lose 5 more pounds. And I do incorporate apple cider vinegar and lemon, and I do have hypothyroid. My A1C was 6.2, now it's 5.9. It's definitely going down. Okay. My eyebrows are going back. I feel good. I use every one of your supplements except the cruciferous because I eat so much raw vegetables, and I no longer have any sugar cravings. I may have a cookie or 2 at the end of my meal. I could just stop eating the cookies because I don't have any sugar cravings whatsoever.
So I have a question. I have a question for you. I have a question for you, Carol. Are those cookies filled with sugar or no?
No, the cookies I have is your shortbread recipe online. It's the butter and the monk fruit. I use monk fruit.
I think you're doing awesome.
And I said. And I'm wondering, I wanted to lose, I'm not losing anything. I lost inches, like 3 inches. But
well, let me just there's a lot of callers. I'm just going to get to this question, okay? You're doing so many things right, and it's working. And we just want to speed it up. And you're probably maybe at a little bit of a plateau, but you still have a little bit more to go. So what I'm going to recommend is 2 things. One is because everything is working, don't change too many things. Maybe not do 2 cookies, maybe do like 1 cookie with one of the meals, not with each one. And then what I would do is I would start pushing that first meal closer into later and later in the day, just a little bit, and then taking the second meal and pushing that back an hour. And I think just that alone will just boost you because then that will give you more chance for your body to lower insulin and really heal the insulin and give you the unfair advantage of enjoying the food, having 2 meals, and then really losing the weight. A lot of people end up dropping that last meal out. So there's another thing you can kind of look at doing. But I think you're doing great, Carol. Don't change too many things. It's working. Give it more time. And I think you'll lose that last pound. And the reason I'm just kind of cutting off a little faster because we just have a million callers just waiting. So, and Karen, did we have any questions from any of the Facebook people out there?
Facebook, YouTube, social media, we have a million questions already. There's so many great ones, but here's a simple one. What are your thoughts on stevia?
Okay, so number 1, stevia is probably the best sweetener out there because it does not affect blood sugars at all. It's an herb. And there's some false information out there that says that, oh yeah, stevia is going to cause this and that. It's not true. But here's the catch-22. When you actually buy stevia, look on the back of the label and make sure they don't add maltodextrin. There is one thing that I even recommended on one of the shows and I can't remember the brand, but it had hidden maltodextrin. Someone brought that to my attention. So just read the label. If it just has regular stevia in a liquid form or just a powder form, totally fine. You can have as much as you want, and it's not going to affect your blood sugars. The problem is it kind of gives a little aftertaste, so some people don't like it. Monk fruit is a little bit better, but a little more pricey. But go ahead and keep doing stevia. That's not a problem. Hey, Arlene, you're from Delaware. You had a question.
Yes. How are you, Dr. Berg?
Great, thanks.
Good. I have a question about what should my husband do. He has ED.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have a question about myself. I'm taking your sleep aid medication, formula, and for sleep. And I'm taking 2 now, and it just seems like it doesn't really keep me asleep. Keep me asleep. So I was wondering about that, and I also have some blood work, but I really can't find the paper to ask you a question about it. But anyway, I'll ask you next time.
Okay, great. Let's talk about your husband first. Is he on?
Your digest medicine.
Okay.
I wanted to know about that.
Okay, great. Let me ask you about your husband. Is he on the same eating plan with keto and intermittent fasting?
He's on. He does the intermittent fasting, but he's not really doing the keto because he likes his starch.
Okay, got it. All right, so let's just kind of cover this, and then but I just had one more question before I mute you and then answer the question. Are you doing the keto very clean?
Yes, and I'm having setbacks too. I don't know if it's because of stress or what, but I do deal with the constipation. Sometimes I only eat like once a day, but I do not eat the starches. I eat meat and vegetables.
Okay, great. All right, so let's talk about your husband first. Really, what kills testosterone is two hormones, actually 3 hormones. One is estrogen, and that's in a lot of the food supply unless he's doing organic. So that is one, all right? So if he starts doing organic, that's going to help him greatly, especially the GMO, non-GMO, which would be organic. Secondly is the insulin. Insulin, if it's spiked, that'll shut down testosterone. So if he does the keto, I would bet anything it's going to really improve things for him, because the keto, by keeping the diet clean of sugars and intermittent fasting together, I mean, he's going to do very well. Make sure his workouts are heavier weights, higher intensity, full body. That will also increase testosterone. Sleep will increase testosterone. But I think really what he needs to do is bite the bullet and do the keto with intermittent fasting, and that problem will be improved. Now for you, sounds like you have some stress and you have constipation. So the sleep aid works like a great percentage of the time, but sometimes you need to pull out the physical stress. There's a great massage tool that I have with a little instruction of how, with videos online, you can find them, but that actually allows you to pull all the stress out of your body. And I do this technique every night before I go to bed, right, Karen?
Yes.
The massage tool.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
using that thing
every night.
Like Karen's like, would you massage my back? I'm like, well, I'm not done yet with my own body. So I have these different techniques that you're doing acupressure to yourself, and does it help me go to sleep, Karen?
Apparently.
Yeah, within a few minutes, I'm just like
he's asleep.
Out. So I would use the massage tool, and then if you have constipation, one of the things that you might want to try is do more kale shakes, because that seems to actually have the potassium things to kind of loosen things up, and then as well as the electrolyte formula. That would help things be more regulated, because potassium helps regulate the pumping action of the colon. All right? Good question. Hey, Mike, you're from Florida. You had a question about gallbladder attacks and gout when you started the keto.
Yeah, I have I guess it's kind of a good news, bad news situation. I started losing weight about 7 weeks ago. I'm 46 years old, and I was about 80 pounds overweight. Lost about 26 pounds so far, and the last 4 weeks of that have been keto, and I've been really faithful to that. So that's the good side of things, but the problem is about right after I started, eating healthier. But before I got onto keto, I got hit with a gallbladder attack, and it was the first time that had ever happened. And went into a specialist, and they're suggesting that I've got enough stones that I really should have it removed. I haven't done that yet. And then subsequently, I've gotten hit with a series of major gout attacks. I've had it in both feet, both ankles, and my left knee. And I've kind of learned just through some research that it could be related. And so I guess there's two things I'm kind of on the fence about. One is lowering uric acid either somehow naturally or by getting onto your allopurinol. And then also trying to save this gallbladder, or whether that's kind of a lost cause.
Yeah, good question. Now, anything that I tell you on the show or tell anyone is just for educational or research purposes or entertainment, and so it's not necessarily meant to diagnose you or tell you to do something without your doctor's approval. So that's my disclaimer. But here's my opinion. Gallstones develop because usually of lack of bile, B-I-L-E, combined with higher insulin, combined with higher cortisol. So taking a bile salt or a gallbladder formula would be very, very beneficial to help that. I don't know how many stones you have. I don't know if it's too far gone. I don't know your state, but just in general, the fact that you're doing keto is great. Do intermittent fasting, which you might already be doing, because that's going to actually help increase more bile and help the dissolving of the stones. So that's one thing. Combined with a lot of the greens and the vegetables, which will offset a lot of this cholesterol that's coming out through the liver as you're losing weight. Now, as far as the gout goes, this is another complication of keto if you're prone to it, because what's happening, and it's not necessarily just a lot of protein, which a lot of people think it's gout only comes from high protein. But when you're doing the transition from keto, from sugar burning to fat burning, the uric acid levels do go up, and that could lead to gout or uric acid kidney stones. So what do? What I would do is get some high quality organic lemon juice, and with every glass of liquid, put about 2 ounces of lemon juice, drink with a straw. Start doing that a lot. The other thing that you want to do is you do want to keep your vegetables very, very, very high, which will then give you the potassium. Potassium is an alkalizer. Potassium helps to counter the effect of gout, especially if it's in a potassium citrate form. My electrolyte powder has 1,000 milligrams of potassium citrate in the form that would be really good for you. And plus there's all the other minerals, so that might be a good option. But as long as you're doing a lot of potassium citrate with the vegetables and additional lemon juice, I think you're going to be totally fine. So I would do that, and to kind of counteract some of the things, and just make sure your protein is between 3 and 6 ounces. Okay, Mike? Good question. Karen, do you have any other questions from Facebook coming in?
Gosh, there's so many great questions. I'm having trouble figuring out which one and trying to cram 20 of them into one question for you.
Can you give me the one question that summarizes like all of them?
I'm actually trying to do that right now. But there is this concept coming through several questions. What do you think about a cheat day and the concept of moderation?
Got it.
A lot of people fighting for their right, to have that, whatever.
Good question. So it's kind of like in a marriage. Would your spouse allow a cheat day? I don't think so. Right, Karen? So that would be really, really bad. So the thing with, I don't know who came up with this idea of like a cheat day with eating, because I'm like, it's not on my program, it's not in any of my books. Instead of a cheat day, why don't you make some alternative, healthy pleasure foods? There's so many recipes that we have that you can go online, drberg.com, watch these recipes, and you can make cookies. You could have all the junk foods that you like with good ingredients, and that could be your cheat day. Why do I say that? Because when you go off the program, you're basically adding sugar and carbs. That's going to spike the insulin enough to bump you out of fat burning for 48 to 72 hours. So if you're willing to not burn fat for 2 to 3 days after your cheat day, and no ketosis, then go for it. But just go into it with full awareness that that's going to affect your fat burning and your ability to get in ketosis. Now, as far as this whole thing of moderation, I mean, I recently did a video on sugar, fructose, I think, and then someone commented like, I don't agree because I think everything in moderation, blah, 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 blah. You know, as long as you do it in moderation. Well, when you actually, I said, well, what's your definition of moderation? It's just, it allows open the door for way too much moderation. Think about what a normal blood sugar is. It's like 100. What is that? That's like 1 teaspoon for all of your body's blood. Well, according to moderation, you could do up to like 6 teaspoons a day. Like, that's way too much. So it's bad advice, especially when you're trying to burn fat and fix and heal the body. When you get to the state where your body's in such a state of health, where you have a health reserve, you can afford to go off the program because now you can fall back on the reserves, but most people don't get into that state. So that's my viewpoint on moderation, Karen, and I'm sticking to it.
Good. Someone said it's not a cheat day, just a cheat meal.
Oh, okay. Well, try it out and see if you can get away with it, and see how your weight loss is affected. But I'll tell you, like, a lot of people will come up to me and say, I'm not losing weight. I find out they're doing cheat day too frequently. Right. So it really depends on your goals and if you want to create your health. I pretty much got into a state where I eat to live. Which is a new concept. And I get a lot of pleasure from food, but some people need that cheat day, apparently. So I'm going to take a question from Crystal. You're from North Carolina. You had a question. Go ahead.
Yes, my question is in regard to inconsistent bowel movements on the keto. I have been doing keto since August, and I have had awesome results. Thank you, Dr. Berg. Mm-hmm. But I'm a little concerned as to if I need to maybe start your gallbladder supplement to help out with that inconsistency.
Good question. Do you have any problem with right shoulder pain, headaches, or anything goes up into the right side of your head or shoulder?
No, I have not experienced. Just recently, I started just a little with headaches, and I have just assumed it's because I have been drinking more water, just plain water, versus what I normally do is like lemon water or, water with a little salt in it.
Okay. Do you still have any cravings for sugars or carbs?
No, not at all.
Okay, good. So I think, yeah, I'm thinking more gallbladder support would be good because gallbladder adds the bile and helps lubricate the colon. That's one thought. The other thing is the potassium from the electrolytes. That is really good to help keep you regular. And I mean, it has magnesium in it, potassium, and all the electrolytes. So it's kind of a toss-up. So one of the two would be good for you. But yeah, when you start going keto, you need to start to increase certain nutrients. Potassium is the big one, minerals, and then the B vitamins. And of course, the gallbladder is not a bad idea too, especially if you're doing more fats. Thanks, Crystal. All right, do we have some good questions coming in?
Yeah, it's really cool because as you're talking, people are constantly responding to what you're saying. And so we're getting a handful of people who are saying, wait, I have right shoulder pain. I have pain on my right side. What's that all about?
Okay, so here's the symptoms of gallbladder, and I'm already done with a gallbladder booklet that I'm going to put out, but the gallbladder is a sac that sits underneath the right rib cage, and it's connected to this thing called the liver. There's a little tube that comes down, and then what happens, the liver makes this thing called bile. Bile helps you break down the grease or the fats. So the gallbladder stores bile, and it concentrates bile. So when you eat, it contracts, it helps you digest the fats. Why do you need to digest fats? Because you need them in the cell, you need them from the hormone, and you need the fat-soluble vitamins, vitamin A for the eyes, D, K, K2 for the bones, and calcium metabolism. So you can see it has really broad effects. So what was my question again, Karen? No.
Right.
No, I'm just teasing. Okay. It's kind of like when you start talking and you're like,
you're so interesting.
Full circle.
You completely forget.
Okay, memory loss.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I was just playing around. But the right side of your neck and shoulder, and even into your right arm, or anything on the right side, it's usually stemming from the gallbladder. And the way that you can know that is go ahead and massage underneath your right rib cage, about 1 inch down over to the right off the midline, and just press that for like 30 seconds and see if those symptoms have vanished. If they have, there's a connection, because there's a nerve called the phrenic nerve that's connected from the gallbladder all the way up to the right shoulder. Because when you step on a dog's tail, he barks through his mouth, right, Karen? So the hip bone's connected to the
Phrenic
thigh
nerve.
bone. Yeah, so everything's connected. So you have to really understand the relationship. All this right shoulder stuff, which I had for 12 years, I had no clue it was coming from my gallbladder. But when you go on the keto and intermittent fasting correctly with all the vegetables, the gallbladder is now happy and a lot of those symptoms go away. So just realize that if you get massages on that right upper shoulder blade thing in your neck and it's not going away, check the gallbladder.
I want to make a point.
Yeah, go ahead.
So some people are, talking about cheat day and Thanksgiving's coming up and how, okay, we're going to have a cheat day on Thanksgiving. And, Dr. Berg lives to eat. He eats to live, right?
Right.
I don't live to eat, but I am nowhere near as disciplined as he is. I have to work on it all the time. But we have some recipes that are really going to push us through Thanksgiving. It's all on the site. There's the most amazing pecan pie. There are biscuits. There's candy. There's cranberry sauce, which I might not have on. Maybe I'll do that one. Maybe I'll do that one today. There's all kinds of things. So it's a gradient, right? You might not have a totally, as Dr. Berg says, clean Thanksgiving dinner. But there are so many things that you can have and not at all feel like you're cheating and still be in keto.
Well,
so I just want to say that.
Well, the problem with Karen is she's a good cook, really good, and she'll make this pecan pie. It's highly addictive.
And he eats it all.
And you just can't stop eating it because it's just...
No, I can stop eating it.
But that's the problem is you make it too good. So if you made it halfway good, maybe we wouldn't eat it so much. No, but the point is that for Thanksgiving, there's a couple things. One, instead of the mashed potatoes, you can do the cauliflower. There's a lot of different things that you can do. But this is this is my tip of the day, Karen, for Thanksgiving. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
You make a note? Okay.
Mental note.
Here's the tip of the day. Why don't you just turn Thanksgiving into an intermittent fasting day where you eat one meal? Okay? So, in other words, don't eat anything in the morning. Have that one Thanksgiving meal and go ahead and do what you need to do and go right back on your program. Because at least that, you're not stimulating insulin as much. And you could have this big meal, okay? Just a tip, Karen, just a tip.
I'm picking up what you're throwing down.
Okay, good. So it's rough.
So are you saying now you can cheat? What are you saying?
I didn't say cheat.
You kind of
implied
that.
Big, huge
I'm going to
meal.
have people here saying,
what
are you saying?
If you're going to cheat, eat less frequent, because I know not everyone is going to be as perfect 100% of the time.
As you.
Like me.
Right.
Okay?
But hey, in our house, pecan pie and kebbies. If that doesn't feel like cheating, I don't know what does. Right?
I don't know.
Right.
So it's Rafael from Toronto. You had a question. I probably butchered your name. But anyway, you had a question about weight loss. Go ahead.
Yes, hi, Dr. Berg. Thank you so much for all your tips. I've watched all your videos. Now I have a question for you. I've been doing your program for about a month now with long intermittent fasting. Now the only time I can get to work out is 5:15 in the morning. And that's because I have a little one and my husband has to go to work by 6:30, so I'm usually home by 6:30. But then when I do my HIIT interval training, which is a program I have joined, it's called Orange Theory. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. So yeah, I do very high intensity workout. I don't eat anything up until 11:30 and 12, and that's my last meal would be probably 6 o'clock in the evening. So I am doing anywhere between 14 to 18 hour of fasting. Now, is that okay, not eating after a HIIT workout? And I usually do it 3 to 4 times a week.
Okay.
And I have been having a really hard time losing weight, to be honest, even though I've been on the ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting.
How many hours of sleep do you get?
Well, I do, the days I work out, I do go to bed early between 8 and 9 o'clock at night. So roughly between, I would say, like 6 to 8 hours of good sleep, I would say.
Okay.
But I have like bad PMS, like not cramping and all that, but I have like really, I get into a really, really bad mood where it's like a storm in my house with my husband. We argue over stupid things. So from what I did when I did the quiz on your website, it looked like I have an adrenal gland body type, but I hold my weight all in my legs. Not so much my stomach, but it's my legs.
Great question.
And I do hold on to a lot of water weight. I feel bloated a lot of times.
Okay.
Yeah, especially around my cycle.
Good.
Before I get really bloated.
Got it. I know exactly what's going on. So let me just answer that. Number one, I think that all you really need to do is add some sea kelp iodine, because that with cruciferous will help your hormonal female problems, which is the menstrual cycle. I think that would actually really help your PMS. Sea kelp. So take like 2 tablets in the morning with maybe some cruciferous food sometime during the day. I think that's going to help you. Sometimes you might need something called DIM, which you can look that up. I have it on the website and videos to more strong. It's actually stronger, but that's one thing. But the fact that you have fluid retention and all that connected to your cycle means that you're estrogen dominant. So I think that is the hormone that's inhibiting your metabolism. You're doing everything great, and I think I would continue to do the high intensity interval training and do it just like you're saying. You know, like I used to say in certain videos, like you can actually only do your workouts right in the eating period. But I changed my mind on that, because unless you have a severe blood sugar, it'll actually help you. It'll speed things up if you exercise during the fasting period. If you can handle that, it's actually a really good thing. In fact, it'll speed things up. But for you, you need to handle this other health issue that's slowing things down. That's all. And I think things will speed up. All right. Good. Karen, do you have any questions?
Sure. So many. Here's one, though. I feel really moody and agitated lately, and I get upset at the smallest things.
Okay.
How could I handle that?
Well, this brings up a really good topic with hypoglycemia, or low blood sugars, which is so common, so common. I mean, I would say the great majority of the population out there has a blood sugar issue, and they don't even know it. They're unaware of it. So, when you have low blood sugars, it affects your brain and your emotions and your mood more than anything else that I've seen. So you have moodiness, irritableness. You get on the keto intermittent fasting. The problem is when you get on it, you know, everyone's telling you maybe to eat more frequently because you have a blood sugar and you're trying to keep the sugars up. So there's a transition phase when you get on keto and intermittent fasting that could be 1 to 2 weeks that you might have to do very, very gradually so you can prevent this moodiness and things. But as soon as you convert over and you don't cheat between the meals, your cognitive function, your overall emotional state will be so much better. I promise. So, and that's a reflection of your blood sugars and hypoglycemia. So that is really underneath the great majority of problems out there that are misdiagnosed and people put on medications. All right? Hey, Ann, you're from Boston. You have a question about a supplement?
I do, and good morning. Thank
Good morning.
you so much for all your help and education and information.
Sure.
I've watched your videos, particularly about the pregnenolone field, the adrenal function, and also how you can get stuck in a stress mode, and you have some sort of massage technique for releasing that. Yeah. But my concern is when I called in, they said that you used to have a supplement for a blood test that showed there was a problem with the pregnenolone. I also have a high parathyroid hormone, low vitamin D, and I was diagnosed as being pre-diabetic. So I was trying to find out what to order to try to address all of these things. And also, I watched your videos about the fibroid tumors. And they said the pregnenolone, when you took a supplement, that it might make your menstrual cycle start again if you're post-menopausal. And even though it had good benefits, that's one of the side effects that I do not want.
Right.
For my menstrual cycle to start again. So I was hoping you could shine a light on what to do as far as all of these hormonal problems, and that's actually the pregnenolone and the stress factor with the adrenal problems.
So did you also say you had a low thyroid?
The parathyroid hormone.
The parathyroid. Was that high or low?
That particular hormone, which it was high, and they said that the concern was excessive calcium. It's complicated. Okay. I hope I'm saying it the way the doctors are saying it.
Totally fine.
But my parathyroid hormone was high, and they said they think it's high because my vitamin D is low, so a lot of things are out of balance.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a really great question. When you have all these factors that don't quite make sense, it's confusing. You have high, low, high hormone over here and a low hormone over here, and someone comes to me. What I don't want to do is get into the whole thing where we're correcting symptoms. And the reason is because we're not stepping back and looking at the whole picture. Because you can imagine the complexities and, oh yeah, let's give you a little bit more D3, but that really didn't get rid of the whole problem or the real underlying issue. So when you evaluate, you want to look at all the symptoms and try to make sense out of it. The parathyroid gland, if that is altered, it's probably a really good idea to see if there's a little tumor on the parathyroid gland, just to make sure, because if there is, you might want to get that handled, because you have 4 parathyroids. So you have the luxury of, surviving on 1 or 2 of them and doing fine, because you don't want any tumors growing. But the point is that what I would do in this situation is go back to the basics. I would want to make sure that you have the basics. Are you doing keto? Are you doing intermittent fasting? Are you having enough vegetables? Are you doing enough nutrients in the body? And then reevaluate everything, a couple months, because you're going to find that a lot of things will go away just by getting in the basics without treating any symptoms at all. Because there's many different causes of a low vitamin D. There's many different causes of a parathyroid issue. And, but the fact that you have insulin resistance or pre-diabetic tells me that the ketogenic and the intermittent fasting will probably help you more than anything. And when you get that corrected, I'd be really curious to see how many other things go back into balance. The fact that you have an adrenal issue tells me that that probably would not be a bad idea to support that, because during the stress states that will raise cortisol and even dump more sugar into the system from that. So out of anything, I think I would support the adrenal first and then do the keto and intermittent fasting and then reevaluate and see how many things get better. Okay? Good question. Hey, Glenn, you're from Florida. You had a question about diverticulitis.
Well, actually, I'm calling in for 2 people.
Okay.
Excuse me. And it's all about intermittent fasting and keto. First of all, you've got to understand that you are my hero. You have saved my daughter's life.
Wow.
She is, it's no small thing. She is half Samoan, and Samoan women average about 300 plus. And on top of it all, she is a semi-driver. And she's been averaging about 286 pounds. Now, I'm a nurse and a nutritionist, and I've talked to her all her life till I'm blue in the face, and she just blows me off. Well, she hit about 50, and she decided, well, okay, I'm going to start doing something about this. Now, the thing that really amazed me in her doctor, she's always had perfect blood pressure, perfect heartbeat, perfect cholesterol, perfect blood sugar, and she just, and I just thought she's a time bomb going to go off. Well, she got to taking like some super things like spirulina, nutritional yeast. She started doing some really good things. And then she hit on your YouTube videos. And she just really got into you. And I was so relieved. Do you know what she weighs now?
What?
She weighs 234 pounds and still going.
That's amazing.
I am so relieved. And you are so responsible. I can't tell you how much I love you. I just do. Okay, now she has a question. She wants to know why you never mention pistachios and are they good for her?
Okay, good. Good. Let me answer that. Pistachios, I'll have to do a video on pistachios. I think they're one of the better nuts, and specifically because of the amount of essential fatty acids in pistachios. Most people consume them roasted, which is fine. There's still some nutrition in there, but it's a really good healthy fat to have at the end of the meal, not between the meal, because we don't want to spike insulin. Because the problem with nuts is it's a great snack and it's hard to just have a little bit. And so if they're around the house and late at night or between meals, people just kind of constantly put them in their mouth. So I think at the end of the meal, it's the perfect thing to help you feel satisfied to go to the next meal. So the best nut, I think, personally, with all the phytonutrients would be the pecan first. Pistachios are very high in that, and walnuts, and then pistachio is probably the third one. But generally speaking, and peanuts are the low end, but generally speaking, these nuts are very, very healthy, and especially if they're germinated correctly and you don't have all the different enzyme inhibitors. But I'll have to do a video on pistachios because there's some other aspects to it that would take a little bit longer. But thank you so much for your call, and I appreciate that.
Wait, I got
you have another question.
This other thing. Yeah, for me, I have been diagnosed with, and I'm in so much pain, severe diverticulitis. And my problem is that my doctor kind of went off on me. She didn't know that I was doing intermittent fasting, and I was trying to get off sugars, and I'm working on this ketosis diet, and she put me for this diverticular. Oh God, she put me on this bland diet that's got all over processed carbs and all this crap, and I don't. You know, I'm a nurse, but I've really never dealt with diverticulitis, or whatever this crap is. Excuse my language. I don't know what to do. I'm eating pastas, rice, all this white, crappy, mashy, whatever. What? I don't know how to convert it to ketones, a ketosis diet. I'm in so much trouble. I don't know what to do.
Okay, so let me just.
I'm eating all the wrong stuff.
Yeah, let me answer that. It's kind of like you got to almost be careful who you get advice from and who you follow. Even though someone's a so-called expert in the field, it's kind of like the information that they're been taught, honestly, I think is incorrect. I would go back to a really healthy keto and definitely intermittent fasting, because think about it. Your intestinal tract, when you're not eating, goes through a healing phase, and it's not constantly work so much. So we don't want to like overload it with work to do when it's trying to heal. So intermittent fasting is the ultimate thing. So I just would not try to go get help from the traditional people in healthcare for that condition if it's not working. Get alternative advice from maybe a whole alternative practitioner or myself, and do intermittent fasting, which is the most important thing right now. And then make sure the foods, maybe you're not going to be able to digest kale and some of the raw vegetables, but fermented vegetables like sauerkraut, you should have at least a serving of sauerkraut with a couple times a day. That's going to give you the vitamin C. It's going to give you the fermentation, get probiotics. And I actually have some videos on that one topic, and I would study that. But what you're doing now with all the grains is going to mess you up long term. It's the worst thing to do. So get on the program that I told you, stick with that, do more fermented vegetables, and a supplement that would be good would be glutamate, and I think you're going to heal over time. So thanks for that question. Hey, Karen, do we have any quick questions over there? The good questions.
The good questions, my team right here. Good questions from my team. There's some questions about estrogen. What is DIM? And then there's something here I'm unfamiliar with, maybe you know about, called maca, M-A-C-C-A, and estrogen. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, maca is like a superfood. It's a green powder that people get, and it's high in phytonutrients. I think it's great. I think it's great as a phytonutrient-rich thing, very similar to turmeric. So that's my comment. I think that would be good to add to the meals. DIM, on the other hand, is a concentrated cruciferous. It's like eating a lot of cruciferous in a very small tablet, and DIM is like 25 times concentrated cruciferous. So it has great properties to balance estrogen. Now, some people say it's anti-estrogenic, but really what it doesn't lower your estrogen, it just lowers the bad estrogen, and it raises the good estrogen. So it's really good for things like cystic acne. It's good for hot flashes. It's good for excessive bad estrogen that leads to issues. For men that have too much estrogen, it's good for men and also women as well. And then I think there was one more thing. You said maca, DIM, and what else?
No, just maca and DIM. But I want to say to the caller and to a few people who've been sending some questions in that I am going to be looking at some more recipes for truck drivers, because I just learned about these Road Pro appliances, and it's a really big issue for these guys and gals who are on the road all the time, sitting all the time, and they have to rely on you know, these trucker stops, and I'm betting there's not kale and you know, keto-friendly food there. So we're going to talk more about that. And
I could imagine that the truck stops are very similar to like a convenience store, where you're getting just the lowest level nutrition on the planet. Quick food, carbohydrates.
Well, I think it's like a diner, you know. And so you're not going to go to a diner and expect keto, although, you know, there are some diners around here popping up and serving that kind of thing. But it's not the common. It's not in the main, right?
Yeah.
There was something else I was going to throw in there, but now.
You come up with that, and I'm gonna take a question from Amanda. She's from Georgia. Go ahead. You had a question, Amanda.
Yes, sir. I just had a quick question about your stance on keto fuel or keto OS or any of those things, those drinks that get you back into instant ketosis.
Yeah. Okay. Good question. There's this big thing now. It's a kind of it's all the rage on taking ketone drinks or ketone supplements, where you're actually just taking external ketones. Here's my viewpoint on it. Ketones are a byproduct of ketosis, or fat burning. Ketones are an alternative fuel source. So when people take ketones, they're missing the whole point. It's like they're taking something that's kind of like an artificially induced ketones. Now, if you have not changed your diet, it's really not going to do you any good. In fact, if you look at the claims for these ketones, they really can't say anything, because there's no studies that show that it actually helps you lose weight or it does much for you at all. Maybe they might be good for a long distance runner that needs a fuel source. But honestly, it really, for me, my viewpoint, it defeats the whole purpose of changing your eating to get your own body into a state of ketosis. Because this is going to lead to, I don't have to change as much. I don't have to focus on the carbs or sugar. I could just add this and get into ketosis, which they're measuring in the urine. Well, that's just because the ketones are going right through and coming out to the urine. That doesn't mean you're in ketosis. It means that you're dumping ketones. In the presence of a little bit of insulin or sugar, your state of ketosis will be shut down. Ketosis is about dropping your carbs way down. So honestly, I don't recommend it, because I have not seen the results. Some people say, well, I work out and I get a lot of energy, but there's a lot of people who are paying over $130 per month for this stuff, and they don't really see much change. So I think it's a fad. I think it'll come and go, but the point is, I would rather you focus on the root problem, get the diet back in, and save your money.
I have another question.
Okay, Karen.
This has come up a couple of times. what about intermittent fasting and a keto diet after gastric bypass surgery?
Okay, gastric bypass, you're basically taking a part of the anatomy and you're reducing the size of the stomach lining or the intestinal absorption tract. If you have this done, it's imperative that you definitely do intermittent fasting and ketosis, because that's going to eventually fix the reason why you needed it in the first place. People that have a weight problem always have an insulin resistance issue. So might as well correct the problem, because if you do gastric bypass and then you don't change or correct the real problem, you might gain the weight back. So many women or men that do this, they end up having complications and problems because they're kind of like not getting to the root issue. The problem once you have it is that you have a less surface of your stomach, so you can't absorb the nutrients and proteins like you did before. And I did a video on this, so what you're going to have to do is probably enhance your diet with trace minerals, for example. Liquid trace minerals, for one, because you're going to have a hard time absorbing it. You're probably going to have to do betaine hydrochloride or apple cider vinegar more to get your stomach more acidic so you can start digesting more protein. And you might not be able to do the quantities of the vegetables and the food. Oh well, still do intermittent fasting as much as you can. And the other thing is that when you reduce the stomach and the intestine, you also alter the function of the liver and the gallbladder to some degree. So you may have to help your gallbladder, because if you don't have a gallbladder, it's even worse, because you're not going to be able to produce the bile to help you pull the fat-soluble vitamins. So when you do gastric bypass, it's really about maybe making sure that you get all the nutrients. And so you might need to add more bile to this mix so you can pull more things. But fat-soluble vitamins and trace minerals are a big missing link. Okay? So I have another question from Michigan. It's Guret. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Dr.
Hi.
Berg. Thanks for taking my call. Actually, I want to discuss something regarding my father. He have a diabetic patient, and in 2016 he had a heart attack. So he had a stent placement in that, and he's a pretty normal, like he exercises a lot, pretty much fit. But after that surgery, he's having anemia problem, like less hemoglobin, around like 10 or sometime like 9.8. So doctor gave him some supplements like iron supplements, then also some kind of like injection in the bone marrow so that I think the bone can produce more oxygen, I guess. And so this is like what he can do to get out of it. Like, I mean, what is the solution for this? And
Yeah.
secondly, he also detected with the gallbladder stone,
Yeah.
but those are not giving him any pain.
Okay. Good. Let me just kind of, with your father, he really needs to get the basics. There's a really cool keto course. It's not mobile friendly right now. Go on my site. Actually, if you're on Facebook right now, you can type under Messenger keto course and get this really cool course. It's like 4 videos. It's a mini course, free course. And this is what your father needs to do too, to get the basics of how to get keto implemented and intermittent fasting at the same time. Watch those videos and apply that information. For those of you who are on YouTube, there's a link down below. You can click to go to Messenger and actually take the course as well. Again, I'm trying to get people on the basics. Here you have someone that had a stent. So we know there was an artery problem, probably the coronary artery, most likely, which is coming from high levels of insulin that's raising the cholesterol, creating all sorts of clots in fibrous tissue and damage to the arteries and all this. So if we recommend anything like a supplement or anything, it's not going to even touch it or prevent it in the future unless he gets these basics corrected. You have to fix insulin, especially for the cardiovascular system. The cardiovascular system responds so well to improving insulin resistance. I mean, especially with any type of like blood pressure and cholesterol issues and just the healing in general. On top of that, I would recommend that he get vitamin K2. And this is just something for the rigidness in the arteries, to improve that, something to help balance the calcium buildup in the arteries. Anyone with any type of weakness within the cardiovascular should really take vitamin K2. You can go to my website and type, or YouTube, and just type on K2. I have a lot of videos on K2, but if you're not aware of it, it's something you should be aware of. But get the basics in. That's what I would do. Now that he had the stent, that's good, but now we have to get to the root cause. So intermittent fasting would be awesome, actually. So thanks for that question. For those of you that are on Facebook, I have a lot of cool new information that I'm releasing on YouTube. So go there and subscribe. And those people are on YouTube, go to Facebook. I'm actually releasing some new information on there. So it's not all the same information on all the different platforms. And if you're on Periscope, go to these other platforms and subscribe or follow me, because right now, a big question about what do I eat? On my site right now, I'm releasing like a new recipe every single day in the right proportion of carbs, proteins, and fats. So this will give you a lot of great ideas on what to eat with your meals. Because sometimes it's hard to figure out, like, should I have more fat, should I have more carbs, or whatever, or in the form of vegetables, whatever. So I give you a lot of examples, and we have a really good chef that's helping me with the recipes. So sign up for that and go to the different platforms and then start being educated on these basics. It's time for Karen to ask me another question.
Well, here's a good one about iron absorption. How can you increase iron absorption? And let me throw two questions in, since that seems to be the gimmick today, twofer.
Yeah.
Now I have just, oh shoot, answer that, but then come back to me.
Okay. Iron absorption really has to do with the pH of the body. When the pH is correct in the stomach, you can absorb iron. The fastest way to correct an iron problem would be to just drink apple cider vinegar with each meal. That drops the pH, and all of a sudden you can start absorbing all these minerals. And this relates to a recent video I did with how to never get a cavity again. I mean, think about a child. For a child to have a cavity, which comes from a Latin word which means decay, like, it's bizarre to me that you would have someone that young having a part of their body in a state of degeneration or decay. Enamel is stronger than steel. But really it has to do with the pH. If the pH becomes too acidic in the mouth, it should be neutral, which is 7. If it drops down to 6 or 5 or even 4, it's going to start to demineralize calcium and phosphorus from the teeth and break down enamel. And that usually comes from more bacteria in the mouth from a lack of Listerine. No, just kidding. It comes from excessive sugar, because the kids are even drinking liquid sugar right now. And so we got to get the sugar out of the diet. Okay, out of the diet.
Don't get me started.
Replace.
Don't get me started.
I won't get you started.
Don't.
Replace the sugar with alternative healthier sugars like sugar alcohols like xylitol. But by the way, I had another question. Someone had a confusion. They thought that sugar alcohol was an alcohol. No. When you have sugar alcohols like erythritol, xylitol, it has nothing to do with alcohol. You're not going to be getting alcohol from that at all. It's a healthy alternative, especially if it's non-GMO. And most of the sugar that people are consuming now come from beet sugar, which most beet is GMO, so they're not even getting sugar cane anymore. All right? So Karen, I think you had another question.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of questions about skin. So there's keto rash, rosacea, sagging skin, a lot of questions about sagging skin. So what can we do to improve skin? Because women love beautiful skin.
Okay, so there's 2 points to this question. And this is going to be the last question of the, the evening. So when you go into ketosis, and especially intermittent fasting, you're going to eventually, long-term, go into autophagy. Autophagy is like autophagy, if you just want to type it and look it up, is the most amazing condition where your body is recycling old and damaged cellular parts and replacing with new. It's like an anti-aging recycler. It's taking the junk out of the trunk. It's taking the garbage out of the house and cleaning it. And it cleans up old fungus, bacteria, viruses. So it's a really good, amazing thing. And intermittent fasting is a powerful stimulator of that. So your skin is going to look better the longer you do this. You're going to look younger. In the short term, though, when you convert from sugar to fat burning, you're going to go through what's called keto adaptation sometimes. In that case, you might have a rash, you might have a skin issue. That's usually a B vitamin deficiency. That's why I recommend nutritional yeast. I have a nutritional yeast tablet that's non-fortified. That means it doesn't have any synthetic vitamins. That's real easy to take because it's in a tablet form. That would be a good solution. Or you can do the powder. Just make sure it's non-fortified. If you look at B vitamin deficiencies, one of the side effects is always a skin problem. B2, B3, B6, biotin, B1. The side effects from those deficiencies are always a skin problem. So by taking more, you can have beautiful skin. So, hey, thank you so much for your questions, guys. We're going to end off now. And
the music is coming.
And thank you so much for Karen for answering the million questions.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys, for all your questions.
Great. See you next week.
Bye.